The NFL as we know it today formed in 1970 after merging with the AFL. The league split into two conferences with 3 divisions each. It stayed this way until the 2002 season, when the Houston Texans became the league's 32nd team, leaving each conference now with 4 divisions each. Over the 54 full seasons since the merger, a grand total of 368 divisions have completed play. Today, we will be counting down the 10 best performances by an NFL division, and as is always the case, we will be using C-Score, this channel's metric for determining the total quality of every NFL team during the Super Bowl era. For a deeper explanation of C-Score, be sure to check out this video's description. All of these divisions have had either 4 or 5 teams, except when the AFC Central had 6 between 1999 and 2001. With that in mind, we're going to keep this simple. We will be creating these rankings by taking the average C-score from each team within a division. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are ready to go. We're going to kick this thing off at number 10 with a fairly modern division, the 2007 AFC South. We will be displaying the standings for each division on this countdown, along with each individual team's C-score. The defending Super Bowl champion Indianapolis Colts are on the top for the 5th straight season at 13-3 with an excellent C-score of 28.788, which was better than their title-winning season. The Jacksonville Jaguars came in second at 11-5 with a 16.329 C-score. After the greatest 8-8 season in NFL history, the Jags secured a wildcard spot this season. Also at double-digit wins, the Tennessee Titans finished third at 10-6 and grabbed the AFC's other wildcard, but their C-score wasn't so robust at 2.374. And even though they finished last, Houston secured the first non-losing season in franchise history at 8-8, just missing a positive C-score at negative 0.481. Every team in the division had at least a 500 record. But neither of these teams were able to make it to the AFC Championship game, hurting their chances at increasing these numbers. But when taking the average C-score of each of these teams, the 2007 AFC South checks in with a C-score of 11.753. We slide into the number 9 spot in a much more modern division. In fact, it's as modern as it can be. The 2023 AFC North from just last season. The division was topped by the powerful Baltimore Ravens, with their 13-4 record and a monstrous 34.922 C-score as they look to make amends for past playoff failures. It tightened up from here though. The 11-6 Cleveland Browns secured second place and a wildcard spot, churning out a C-score of 8.089. The Pittsburgh Steelers, allergic to losing seasons under head coach Mike Tomlin, finished 10-7 and in third place with a less than awe-inspiring C-score of 1.636. They too made the playoffs, even though they had the division's worst C-score. That's because the last place Cincinnati Bengals landed with a 3.147 despite their 9-8 record. Every single team in the division secured a winning record, the only time this has ever happened in the Super Bowl era. Cleveland and Pittsburgh went one and done in the playoffs, while the Ravens got to host the AFC Championship game, a game they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. But with the Ravens leading the way and every team additionally landing a positive C-score, the 2023 AFC North lands an overall C-score of 11.949. We're getting our first 5-team division at number 8, where we find the 1984 AFC West. There's a lot of good here, led by the emerging Denver Broncos at 13-3 with a C-score of 19.924. Yet, despite finishing second at 12-4, the Seattle Seahawks pull in the highest C-score at 21.88. With a record that was good enough to win several division titles throughout the 1980s, the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Raiders instead had to settle for third place at 11-5. C-score lets you know how good they were though, with that 16.558. They secured the AFC's other wildcard spot. Then we have the Chiefs and Chargers in 4th and 5th place. The Chiefs did maintain a 500 record, with the Chargers just missing at 7 and 9, but both nailed down a positive C-score, with KC at 1.118 and San Diego at 0.354. The division was simply class from top to bottom. The Seahawks and the Raiders were pitted against each other in the wildcard round, with Seattle prevailing before losing to the powerful Miami Dolphins. Denver wasn't yet ready for this stage, losing at home to Pittsburgh, also in the divisional round. The strong consistency throughout brings the 1984 AFC West to good overall heights, and an overall C-score of 11.967. We return to the 21st century at number 7 with the 2007 NFC East. And it is in this division where we find our first eventual Super Bowl champion. But first, we lead off with the division champion, the 13-3 Dallas Cowboys, and their excellent C-score of 23.003. Now here in second place, we get the New York Giants, 10-6 with a solidly middling C-score of 10.294, who went on to win Super Bowl 42 as a wildcard entrant. As we can see, this is yet another division where every team finished at least 500, with the Washington Redskins and Philadelphia Eagles going 9-7 and 8-8 respectively. Moreover, as we've covered in a past video, both of these teams performed admirably against a very difficult schedule as reflected in their C-scores, with Washington nabbing a 9.592 and Philly hitting double digits at 10.688. As far as balance goes, the Redskins' C-score is the highest for any team that brings up its division's rear. Washington did grab the NFC's other wildcard spot, going down in defeat to the Seahawks in their first game. And of course, the Giants went on a run for the ages, which included knocking out the Cowboys on their way to defeating the, at this point, 18-0 New England Patriots to improbably win the Super Bowl. Before all was said and done, the 2007 NFC East's balance and low floor brought forth a C-score of 13.394. We step backward in history once again to introduce the 1976 AFC Central Division at number 6. This is almost the same division as we know today as the North, just swapping out the Oilers for the Ravens. This was still the domain of the Pittsburgh Steelers, as the two-time reigning and defending Super Bowl champs won the division at 10-4 with an amazing C-score of 38.703. They ended the season on a 9-game winning streak, which included a sweep of the Cincinnati Bengals, explaining their second-place finish despite an identical 10-4 record, with their own excellent C-score of 24.952. These two carried all the water here for the division. Despite a winning record of 9-5, the Cleveland Browns slipped under 0 in C-score at negative 2.907, while the bottom Houston Oilers scored minus 6.807 alongside their 5-9 record. With only one wildcard spot available, the Bengals amazingly couldn't get in, despite fielding the best team in its franchise's history. The mantle was left with the Steelers, who went on the road to beat the Colts before falling to their arch nemesis, the Oakland Raiders, in the AFC title game. Despite two below-water C-scores, the sheer power of the top two teams here gave the 1976 AFC Central enough of a boost to land a final C-score of 13.485. We're now in the second half of the countdown, and at number 5, we have the 2005 AFC West. The Denver Broncos won the division with a banger 13-3 record and climbed the heights of C-score to land at 26.463. The Kansas City Chiefs finished second with a solid 10-6 record and a very good C-score of 16.002. Then in third are the San Diego Chargers, a team that we've covered once or twice on this channel. C-Score knows that 9-7 record does not encompass this team's quality, bestowing upon them a more fitting figure of 21.623. And bringing up the rear, as they so often did during this time, were the Oakland Raiders, only managing a 4-12 record and a negative 10.069 C-Score. So strong was this division that the Raiders are just one of 2 teams we'll see in this countdown with a negative double-digit C-Score. Yet, so strong was the AFC this season that this division could not produce a wildcard team. The Pittsburgh Steelers were the 6th seed, and after eliminating the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, the Broncos could not get past Pittsburgh on their way to winning the Super Bowl. Still, this division goes into the annals of greatness, cultivating a total C-score of 13.505. The 1976 AFC Central ranked in at number 6, but they were actually a tiny step down from the season prior, as the 1975 edition comes in at number 4. The Steelers are on top again. Yes, shocking, I know. They won the crown at 12-2 with their renowned C-score of 39.775. The Bengals were once again in second with an even better record of 11-3 compared to 1976, but a lower C-score of 17.956. The Houston Oilers rose up from some terrible seasons in the early part of the decade to a 10-4 record, achieving to date their highest C-score as a franchise at 15.934. But sitting here all alone at the bottom, 7 games out of 3rd place, are the 3-11 Cleveland Browns, with by far the worst C-score we're going to see from any team on this list at minus 19.54. Had this team even approached mediocrity, this division could have challenged for the top spot. The Bengals secured the AFC's lone wildcard spot and put a scare into the Oakland Raiders before ultimately falling to them. The Steelers took care of those Raiders after first knocking out the Colts, landing in Super Bowl X, where they defended their crown from the season before in a 21-17 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. With the Super Bowl champs and 2 more excellent teams in the fold, the 1975 AFC Central sees its C-score culminate at 13.526. Our number 3 entrant may come as a surprise, but we're looking at the 2004 AFC East. Upon closer examination though, this division profiles almost exactly to the one we just saw in the 1975 AFC Central, with the notable exception being the team in last place. The defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots came back even better this season, topping the division at 14-2 with an awesome C-score of 36.882. The New York Jets finished second at 10-6 and earned a wildcard spot, holding an excellent C-score of 15.216. The Buffalo Bills may have blown their playoff opportunity at the end of the season, but they were still great even at 9-7 and a C-score better than the Jets at 17.831. The Miami Dolphins did finish last at 4-12, but otherwise had a respectable C-score of minus 8.575, about 11 points better than the 1975 Cleveland Browns. Most of the time during New England's run, their division was a cakewalk, but that was not the case this season. The Jets won in the wildcard round and only lost in overtime to the 15-1 Steelers in the divisional round. New England then handled the Steelers after handling the Colts on the way to their 2nd straight Super Bowl and 3rd in 4 seasons. The division's overall strength brings its total C-score to 15.339. We now go back to the first post-merger season for our number 2 entry, the 1970 NFC Central. And speaking of 2, this was clearly a 2-team show. The Minnesota Vikings were on top, as they often were in the post-Lombardi Packers landscape, at 12-2, with an incredible C-score of 37.823. In second place, though, were the Detroit Lions. To this very day, the 1970 Lions rate out as C-scores best team not to win its division, with only the 1969 Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs rating out about a point and a half higher during the entire Super Bowl era. Detroit was 10-4 with a 33.131 C-score, capturing the conference's first and only wildcard spot. Then we have a couple of 6-8 teams. The Packers officially finished third despite an inferior C-score to the Bears. Green Bay is at negative 7.29, while Chicago is less of a detriment to the division's average at 3.187. The Vikings and the Lions were the two best teams in the entire league, yet neither managed to win a playoff game, with the Vikings getting beat at home by the San Francisco 49ers, and the Lions losing in Dallas to the Cowboys by the actual real-life score of 5-0. Those disappointments aside, the 1970 NFC Central still has the C-score to finish in second place, coming in at 16.713, and held the title of Best Division for over 4 decades. But swooping in to take the crown away from them, and doing so fairly easily, is the 2013 NFC West, ranking in at number 1. After being a laughingstock division for nearly a decade, the West brought the heft this season. On top were the Seattle Seahawks, their first division title with a winning record since 2007. At 13-3, the Legion of Boom led the way to a lofty C-score of 38.481. The defending division and conference champion San Francisco 49ers were right on their heels at 12-4 with a great C-score of their own at 25.193. This is strong enough already, but the third place Arizona Cardinals racked up a 10-6 record alongside a 14.176 C-score. And even the last place St. Louis Rams at 7-9 landed a positive C-score of 3.247. This score was significantly higher than the Green Bay Packers, who won their division and made the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, the Niners got in with a wild card, while the Cardinals were denied the last spot by the Saints. San Francisco and Seattle seemed destined to meet in the NFC Championship game, and that's exactly what happened, with Seattle scoring a memorable victory. After that, they had what was arguably the most dominant Super Bowl victory of all time, although ironically the 1989 San Francisco 49ers might have something to say about that. They soul-crushed the Denver Broncos, the highest scoring offense in NFL history, by a score of 43-8. In the end, the supremacy of the 2013 NFC West could not be denied by whipping out a monstrous average C-score of 20.274. The top 10 as a whole shows the AFC dominating spots 10-3, grabbing 7 of 8 available slots, with every single one of its 5 divisional incarnations making an appearance. Yet the top 2 spots belong to the NFC, and by a relatively sizable margin. Spots 10-8 and 7-4 are tightly packed, and it's only after number 4 that we start getting some consistent separation. Listed off to the side here is the highest team in C-score from each division, indicating that there is more than one way to make a powerful division. The highest ranking individual team is 4th, while the lowest ranked is 8th. The separation between those two teams is nearly 18 points, while the divisions themselves are separated by just over a point and a half. Only 3 eventual Super Bowl champions are listed here, but that's only because the 2007 New York Giants can't claim best in division status. Oh, those fluky Giants. Thank you so much for joining us today and for making it to the end. This was the best divisions. The worst divisions will be coming soon. If you happen to like the video, show that by clicking the thumbs up button down below. Feel free to share it around, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell for notifications on all future releases. Interacting with the video however you can really helps the channel. I'm so thankful for your consideration. Let me know what you think about all of this. Is there another division you had in mind to make it onto this list? Did we include a division that you thought maybe shouldn't be here? Maybe you're good with who made it, but not so much with the order in which they appear. Sound off on this or anything else you have on your mind down in the comments section below. Be sure to check out the channel's other content as well. Our rankings playlist should be popping onto your screen very shortly if it hasn't done so already. Thank you once again for joining us, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.